Hi everyone, this is Ryan Hoyme, aka Massage Nerd, and today we have Richard from Topical BioMedics. Sorry. So you're kind of new on the scene, right?
Yeah, we've been new on the scene in the massage therapy world, coming to the shows. The product has been around since 1994.
Okay, so
the product is not
okay.
a new one. It's about 18 years old now.
Okay.
It was formulated by a gentleman who was injured in Vietnam as a teenager.
Okay.
He was left with neuropathic pain in both of his arms bilaterally that he suffered with for decades without being able to find a treatment that was really able to take the pain away consistently for him.
Okay.
He got into a place in his life in the late 80s where he was researching and developing base creams for what he wanted to have be a medicine for himself. And they hit on a prototype at the laboratory that he was working with that started to very quickly reduce the symptoms that he was experiencing in his arms, which were coming from an impingement in the brachial plexus in his neck. They did a couple more years of refining and more research to the point where they made the product called Topricin. He became asymptomatic within a couple of few days of using the product, and with consistent use, his symptoms reduced to the point where he was able to start using the product not even on a daily basis anymore, that he was getting pain relief that was actually lasting longer than just a couple of few hours.
Okay. And is it more of a cooling or heating agent then?
Yeah, no, actually it's not an analgesic, so there's nothing in it that gets hot or cold. It's not stimulating that type of experience where you're having pain relief by inhibiting the pain signal temporarily.
Okay. Because a lot of people think they need to have that sensation or for it work, but you don't need that in order to work.
We do find that sometimes with people when they put it on, because they're expecting when you put a topical on that there's going to be a change in the temperature on your body. In ours, it goes on like a high-end moisturizer is what it feels like. It absorbs very, very quickly into the body. They developed the cream base without any petroleum products, no chemical preservatives, no alcohols, so it's able to absorb very quickly via the way that they've structured the actual base, which is almost all water. It's 79% water. The other 29% of the ingredient, 21% of the ingredients are solvent-free coconut oil and a glycerin and a triglyceride that are also extracted from coconut. And that's practically it. That creates the base. So it's very hypoallergenic. Very, very few ingredients.
Do you recommend people just to do a patch test first and stuff?
Yeah,
just to get safe,
especially if people know that that they have allergies to things. We always suggest that you do a little patch test. You know, just a small amount, someplace on the body. Give it 5 or 10 minutes. If you're not having any reaction to it, you can feel comfortable using it anywhere on the body at that point in time. Yeah, a lot of times too, you know, just even putting it on the hand when you touch. Somebody who's allergic to something is going to have that experience even on the hand where they've touched it. The product is really, really effective at reducing inflammatory problems. We have been awarded at the end of 2010 with 2 new patents on Topricin. One as a treatment for fibromyalgia, because it's so effective at reducing muscle spasms and nerve pain. And the other patent we received is as a treatment for neuropathy, which is nerve pain. I'm starting to
hear more of that and stuff.
Anywhere you have burning, numbing, tingling sensations is what neuropathy is. That is what Lou Paradise, the formulator, experiences with his symptoms, is a lot of burning pain and a lot of numbness in his forearms and his hands if he's not using the product.
And do you have to apply it directly on those areas that you're having pain, or so like trigger points, it's usually a different area that actually affects? Do you have to do it both places, or?
That's a great question. Well, we find that people, like when they're using it for something like sciatic nerve pain, if the nerve pain is running down the back of the leg or into the calf, they don't get much of a response if they put it in those areas. They have to go to the point where the actual impingement of the nerve is happening. Applying the product there is where they're going to get relief going down the nerve pathway. Same with carpal tunnel syndrome. If it's not true carpal tunnel, but you're having some other impingement someplace else along the nerve pathway. So we suggest for carpal tunnel, especially if you've not been diagnosed with by a doctor with it, that you do it in 3 places. You apply it to the neck and the shoulder, around the elbow, and then wrist and hand. So you're hitting 3 places along the pathway that are very, very persnickety for causing impingement and nerve pain at the end of the nerve line.
And what kind of sizes do you have then? Or
it comes in 3 sizes for retail: 2 ounces, 4-ounce jar and in an 8-ounce bottle. And then we also sell it in 16-ounce and 32-ounce pump bottles to medical professionals like massage therapists, so they can use it in the treatment rooms.
What about wholesale? Can people purchase it for wholesale for selling in their clinics yet? Or?
Absolutely, yeah. For medical professionals of any kind, which massage therapists we consider to be a medical professional, we always sell it at wholesale. Once you have an account with us, we provide samples and literature free of charge anytime you need them as well. So that's nice.
Because some therapists have a hard time with selling things, so if they actually use it on the client, it's like not selling at all, but it is.
Exactly, exactly. And it's really nice too if you're doing an injury treatment work on somebody and you give them a 2-day supply of the samples to use while they go home. Again, there's no suppression or inhibition of the pain signal with Topricin. It's helping to stimulate circulation in the microcapillaries. That helps to detoxify the area that you're applying it to. So it really helps to improve and support what the therapist has done while they're doing work on the body. After the person gets off the table and leaves, if they're applying this a few times throughout the day until their next massage session, they're actually incrementally moving themselves closer and closer to a positive healing response, which we see it all the time and we hear it from the medical community. Our product is considered here in the United States an alternative medicine. It's being used in Veterans Administration hospitals, and it's being used in some of the biggest surgical hospitals in the US now as a mandatory application after surgery in order to instigate a deeper healing response. So you have the institutions that quite regularly will not allow homeopathics in the door, using them with every client that comes into the surgical center for them. And in the VA centers, we're hearing consistently they're helping the vets get themselves off of their pain meds and their inflammatory drugs faster. So people are either severely reducing or completely eliminating their need for strong pharmaceutical drugs, which is always a benefit if you can help a person move through that process faster.
And is it better to apply on when you start the treatment or afterwards or in between, or when is more ideal, would you say, or does it matters with the client maybe? Or
that's a great question. I think for the most part using it after you do your treatment work is best. In my own experience though, sometimes if a client has got a really strong spasm or they're in a lot of pain in an area of their body, I would apply the Topricin to that area, start doing work elsewhere, let the medicine sink in and be there for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I would go in and start doing work on that tissue as well, and then reapply when I'm done actually doing the modality.
And is it possible to overdose at all? Because when therapists keep applying to clients all day long and stuff like that, have you researched that or anything?
Yeah, it's a great question, and again, and it really is a double benefit for the therapist and for the client. No adverse reactions with using it regularly. Good. You cannot get into a place where you have overused the product. I mean, when you're acutely injured, we suggest that you do it anywhere between 4 and 8 times in a day, in order to help to even quicker stimulate the healing response. Like when you've really injured yourself and it's just happened, the more you put it on, the closer together, the faster you're going to actually go through that initial phase of inflammation and pain reduction. So for the therapist who's using it on clients throughout the day, if they're dealing with any kinds of pain issues in their thumbs or finger joints or wrists, they're getting application and applying it at the same time. And it's nice because it has no smell and it absorbs really fast. It absolutely has no odor at all. So you can use it throughout the day with different clients and nobody knows that you've been using it, and you don't have to deal with really having to wash your hands intensely in order to try to remove
What if
the
little kids got a hold of it then?
Totally safe to use. On the packaging it suggests that children over 2, that's what we suggest, 2 years and older. Nothing in the base cream is going to harm them, and again, the homeopathic remedies are very benign as far as having any adverse side effects or contraindications. That's one of the beautiful things about them, is that in 225 years of being around and being used, there still are no serious side effects that have been ever found or discovered with them.
Were there any minor ones that you've run into or heard about then? Or
sometimes with homeopathics, people can have a temporary increase in their symptom before the symptom starts to reduce.
That's common, but the average client might not understand that.
Exactly. Yeah, and so when we, it's something that we inform people if and when they call our company complaining that they put it on an area that was in pain and they're feeling more pain. We always ask them how long that experience has been happening. We usually find out it was temporary.
Yeah.
And then we go through that educational piece. That's a small percentage of the population, but that is something that is known in the homeopathic medical community that occurs, that sometimes you'll have more of an expression of the symptom temporarily before you have a strong reduction in the symptom.
And what about using with other topical things and stuff like that?
It's fine, like using it especially in a massage-related situation where you're oftentimes using a lubricant, as long as the lubricant does not have any strong essential oils in it, as long as it's just a straight oil or a straight lotion that has no scent.
And what about analgesics or anything?
Analgesics, we suggest you don't use them together.
Okay.
The menthol, camphor, capsaicin that is oftentimes in analgesics, those essential oils we will deactivate potentially the homeopathic remedies. They don't work well together in combination. So if you're putting an analgesic on, we suggest you wait at least an hour and a half or so before you apply the Topricin, and vice versa. If you put on the Topricin and you really want to use your analgesic as well, you give yourself at least an hour to an hour and a half in between. Otherwise, you're just deactivating the medicine.
But they should just use this because then they don't know whether it's which one's working the best.
Exactly. In the beginning, we say most people experience symptom relief in the first 1 to 4 applications. So we suggest you do it 2 to 4 times a day.
Okay.
So in fact, somebody just over at the booth put it on their shoulder, and before they walked away from talking, were like, I wasn't able to move my shoulder like this without it being in pain. They were already having that experience, and I noticed that a lot in my work with the product. So we suggest people give it a good try. If you're injured or you're dealing with an issue that is chronic, at least 3 times a day. I tell people to do that for 4 to 7 days, and then assess what's going on with yourself. If you feel like nothing has occurred at that point in time, the company has great integrity. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee on the product, so if you can use the entire tube up and say, you know what, I tried it, it didn't work for me, they're going to refund your money. But for the most part, we get very, very few refunds. In my experience with it, 7 or 8 out of every 10 people I've ever given it to have had a positive response and come back saying, wow, it really helped with my fill in the blank, whatever the pain was.
And the thing is, if you're using this during a massage treatment and the person actually gets better, it might be from the massage, it might be from this too, but they're more likely to come back to that therapist too.
Exactly. So. And when you're looking at the realm of this kind of work or anything where you're in that place where you're helping individuals heal, any kind of tool that you can have in your toolbox that's going to be able to potentially instigate a better healing response for that person quicker. It's a bonus for both people. Therapists always want to see their clients get better faster. It makes the client feel better. It does great things for the therapist as well. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. I mean, our intention should be how quickly can we get this person back to a place where they are feeling back in balance, they've got control of the quality of their life again. Because a lot of people, like Lou, the man who formulated this for years, he suffered with such extreme nerve pain that he had a very big drop in the quality of his life. He couldn't bend down and pick up his grandchildren because his hands were in so much pain. He couldn't interact with the world the way that he wants to interact with the world because he was in pain. Now for him, that experience is totally different. He can do anything in the world with his hands that he wants. And we hear that all the time from our clients and our customers that it helps them improve their quality of life.
And where are you guys based out of then?
The company is based out of upstate New York. Product is manufactured at a facility in New Hampshire. So it's made here in the United States.
Cool.
And I live on the West Coast. I do education and sales work for them on the west side of the United States mostly.
Do you know how they came up with that name then?
Topricin. Yes, I know a little bit of the story. When they first came out with the product back in '94, Lou Paradise, the man who formulated this, was never planning on owning a homeopathic medicine company. A lot of the research and development he was doing was specifically for his own sanity, because he was at the end of he had tried everything under the sun to stop his pain. So when they came out with the product initially, it was called Therapeutic Pain Rub. very benign, it was kind of a weird name. And, so a couple of years into working with therapeutic pain rub, one of the places Lou really wanted to influence was in the Western medical community, especially in the VA medical centers, because he was injured in a war zone, and so he had a very deep interest in being able to provide this to other veterans who were suffering from the same or similar problems. Back at that time, not very many Western doctors would talk to Lou with his therapeutic pain rub. It was just too strange of a name. The packaging was all different. A woman who worked for a big advertising company who used therapeutic pain rub with great results contacted the company once and was like, "This is who I am. I'm an ad person. I market. I think your product is amazing, but your name is horrible. I would like to help you rebrand your product," which was right at the same time that the company was thinking about that.
Okay.
So she came in, if you notice the Topricin, it's got a T, a P, and an R in it, so TPR, that's therapeutic pain rub. Customers back in the early 90s, that's what they called it when they would call and place orders. They would say, "I'd like a 2-ounce tube of your TPR," as opposed to saying therapeutic pain rub. So the woman came up with the name Topricin primarily because they wanted the packaging to reflect more of a pharmaceutical-based kind of Western medical mindset product, which it seems very at home on the shelf in a pharmacy next to other pharmaceutical types of medicines. So that's primarily where the name came from. It's just a created name from a marketing.
It sounds cool too.
It sounds cool, yeah, exactly.
So the best way to get a hold of you guys then is
Topricin.com is a great way. I think that would be the best way. On our website are our phone numbers if you need to call into the home office for any questions. And if you are a massage therapist, contacting us, letting us know that you are a therapist. We ask for your license number so that we have proof that you are actually a therapist. That'll set you up as a professional where you'll get the wholesale cost from the product.
Okay, awesome. So what about the states that are not regulated then?
That's a great question.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm not sure how
there's not many out there, but I live in Minnesota and we're not regulated at all.
Okay, and I know some places like Montana still aren't regulated. Honestly, I'm not sure how they do that at the home office, how they designate those people.
They deal with all that.
They deal with all that.
I don't have to. Okay, perfect. Well, it's been a pleasure, Resher.
Ryan, thank you so very much.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys.